The football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And that I believe I could have run behind you. Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and I running back coach didn't take you. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right. Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 109 on your radio dial. You can find us being simulcast on Martin Houston Live on Facebook and on YouTube. Also at Tide 109 on Facebook and simulcasting on X's and O Sports as well. Podcast page on Facebook. And then also at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. Give us a like, give us a follow, share us with family and friends. Tell someone about the great things happening on the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. And we say your show, your team because we always open the phone lines right here on the Martin Houston Show at 205-342-9904. That's the Taco Casa hotline. And once again, that number is 205-342-9904. 9904. We'd like to get you in on today's conversation, and so we'll get that rolling. But we got X's and O's Sports. Xavier Houston joining us this morning. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. As we open up the playbook to get things going, we got quite a few different topics we can hit and camp out on. Hey, is the tanking for Tua real? We know that, several years ago, everybody was like, hey, the Dolphins are tanking for Tua. The Dolphins are tanking for Tua. So if that's the reality, it seems like it's going to be a part of a lawsuit. And we'll be talking about that. Name, image, and likeness was the biggest deal that we had from the recruiting day, bigger than the people who were recruited and signed. So we'll talk about that as well, and we'll find out exactly how that's going to impact. What's going to happen? What is the NCAA gonna do about it? Are they gonna let it continue going down the road? They're gonna let it continue to be an issue, a problem, a question? What is the NCAA gonna do? Because on their biggest day, which used to be their day, on National Signing Day, the only thing that was really talked about was people pointing fingers back and forth at each other and how they're using name, image, and likeness. So we'll talk about that. And of course, it's official. Bama finally named their coaches, so we can talk a little bit about that. And we'd like you to give your thoughts and opinions. Then just a couple quick sidebar things that if you want to talk about, we'll highlight the Tide Trailblazer. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. And then a shout out to the University of Alabama and Alabama One Credit Union. Alabama One Credit Union, yesterday was National Girl and Women's Sports Day, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And percentage of women athletes in college has went from a little over 7% to over 44%. So there's been a difference there. And Alabama One partnered with the university to raise $50,000 by making a $25,000 matching gift. And from January 26th to February 2nd, they raised $88,164 for women athletics in the scholarship fund at the university. So thanks to Alabama One, which I'm proud to be a part of, and hopefully that's going to help some young ladies continue their dream of playing sports in college, as well as continuing their education. Once again, Alabama One, go check them out at alabama1.org. Help kick off that with a matching funds donation of $25,000, and it raised almost, over 3 times the original donation amount, 88,164. So big time news. Maybe my granddaughter, one of them, will get that one day. Who knows? So we'll see what happens there. But good morning, X. Once again, like to kind of set the topics that we're going to talk about to kick things off. Any of those just jump out at you?
Oh man, I think it's awesome that they've raised money for scholarships, and as you said, one day your granddaughter, who my daughter, might be a beneficiary of that. So that's an awesome thing that is being done. That was done, and something that'll go on in the future. But as you said, signing day yesterday, from when you were coming up till when I was coming up to just a few years ago, was the big day. The gym being filled with classmates and teammates as you sign to play at whatever university, and it covers more than just football. The other sports as well, soccer, track, baseball, but it's lost a little bit of its luster due to early signing day football. So it's not as much of media like it used to be. But it was very interesting hearing some of the comments by other coaches yesterday that can be a bit of locker room talk, a little bit of that uh, billboard, that bulletin board encouragement for games is coming up season, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, there was like I said, yesterday lost some of its luster from the signing piece of it, but Alabama, Pat called and said, "Hey, will Alabama get the tight end X?" And they did get Danny Lewis. Is that he's an interesting recruit. He was committed to Cincy, I think, right up until we played Cincinnati. He decommitted somewhere around that time frame, and then he ends up taking visits to Alabama, LSU, and Florida. It's pretty crazy. And of course, he trolled LSU, and committed to Alabama. And so I do want to look inside the Alabama recruiting class here a little deeper. And go ahead.
Is Danny Lewis already an Alabama legend?
Why do you say that?
After that troll job from Brian Kelly, Hanson, and all that, to just a few days later committing to Alabama, because that video of his he put on his Instagram, it's his only video he has on his TikTok. That's it. His social media, that's the big thing that's all over it. And I know Alabama fans yesterday are having a field day with memes and the jokes as far as that goes.
Yeah, well, and of course, y'all were talking about don't like coaches doing cranes. That's probably one of the things I don't really like about the recruiting aspect of things either, because all these guys be putting Alabama and trying to troll Alabama, and Alabama didn't even offer them. Of course, we won't have Hank on with us this morning to talk inside some of that, but a lot of these guys that have an Alabama hat on the table and act like they're gonna choose Alabama hat. Alabama didn't even give them an offer they could commit from. That's part of the reason. The other part is just go and pick your school, be done with it. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. But let's look inside this class for a minute, and we'll also talk about the name, image, and likeness for that's been a pretty big deal Let's hit that first. What are your thoughts on Lane Kiffin on yesterday and before yesterday? Using terms like free agency, salary cap, luxury tax, and most of, I mean, those are all NFL terms that he's using. But are they applicable pretty much in the college game? And the difference is those are all things that are governed, and at the NFL level, they're all governed very tightly by the NFL. In college, those things have crept into the game unofficially, and therefore no one is really measuring it. Think about the time frame of the free agency transfer portal. A kid can go through spring practice and then transfer freely. Okay. Even in NFL, you have to have your free agency has to be done before draft time so that you can manage your roster, so you know what you need to do going into the NFL draft and OTAs and all of those off seasons. Now, guys can get cut and pick back up, but they can't just go through a practice and then decide, oh, that guy's better than me, I'm going to go to this other school, and vice versa. So let's talk about that in the impact if the NCAA and or some governing body doesn't step up. Did all of the massive changes, and we'll talk about what those are they potentially putting what I believe one of the most popular sports in the nation, are they putting it in danger? Other than the NFL, I think you could easily say college football is the number one sport, and it was closing in on the NFL at one point. So, Joe, I'd like to get your thoughts on that on the other side as well. If no one gets this under control, have all of the collective changes, name, image, and likeness, transfer portal, and the new early signing period, and all of those things, are they putting our favorite sport in danger? We'll have that conversation right here on the other side of the break. We'd like to invite you to be a part of it on the Taco Casa hotline at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business, and Taco Casa is open for business for lunch and or dinner, so check them out. 6 locations in Tuscaloosa, West Alabama, Northport area to better serve you. So go check them out and let them know that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, got a report of a major crash on 2059 eastbound at exit 45. That's the Utah exit. Traffic is being diverted off the interstate onto US 11 at this time. If you see other conditions, give me a call. Now's the time to head to Townsend Nissan for amazing saving, great selection, and service after the sale. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination.
How do you make the most of your land? If you ask the Wrens, who run with us on a John Deere mower, they tell you.
I mow first, then I do all the trimming.
But the Hubbards, who work behind the wheel of the John Deere compact tractor, would say.
If it's something you want, just go after it and try it.
Then there's the Mosers, who may mention from the seat of their John Deere Gator UTV.
You can't be all work and not play.
There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your hard-earned money. Learn to protect yourself at asc.alabama.gov. Paid for by the Investor Protection Trust and brought to you by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. I'd like to carry more parts at my shop, but I just don't have the room. Every time I go in the back to get wiper blades, I trip over a dusty crate of Honda air filters, then bang my head on some GTO radiator hoses. eBay Motors never has that problem. They stock all the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them, with everything from new headlights to vintage gear shifters. I can't imagine being able to stock 122 million parts. I mean, where would I get all those shelves? eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warmer day today, cloudy with a chance of showers this morning. Showers and thunderstorms are likely this afternoon and tonight. The high today 70, colder late tonight, the low 37. Tomorrow, cloudy and much colder, rain ending during the morning, the high 43. I'm James Spann of the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 60 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Well, just philosophically, and this is a philosophical question, I think answer to your question, but I think players have always been able to work. I think it's a good thing that players now have an opportunity to work and make money through name, image, and likeness. I would hope that we come up with some system in the future where, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I don't think players should make a decision about where they go to school relative to how much money they're going to make in name, image, and likeness. I think all the players on our team who made money in name, image, likeness this year, had representation on their own, and all those deals were created on their own based on their brand and what they did. There's nobody at this institution that had anything to do with any of that. I just don't think that somebody should pick a school because of the institution, the relationships that they have, how they can develop personally, academically, and athletically, and the kind of program that they have, and the kind of institution that they want to go to. So I just hope that it doesn't get to where name, image, and likeness deals are created, for high school players to get them to go to a particular institution. And I'm not accusing anybody of that. I'm not saying anybody did that. That's not why I'm saying this. I'm just saying philosophically, I think it's great that players can earn the right to make money through name, image, and likeness when they're on a college team. I just hope it doesn't get to that point because then you open up, a whole new can of worms when it comes to recruiting.
That's Coach Nick Saban. And you might say, well, he might be a little upset and a little bitter because he came in second. I'm not sure. Did this class they're really close to setting a record themselves if they didn't break the record from last year. So this year's class is as highly ranked as last year's class, which was a record-setting class. Of course, Texas A&M beat that record this year. But I'm telling you, Nick Saban saying name, image, and likeness isn't bad. We just need to have a system. And so Xavier and Joe, I'd like to get your thoughts on there's three major changes all happen within a small window. First of all, with it being the day after National Signing Day, we see what that's done to National Signing Day. Now, does that impact recruiting? I'm not sure what's the fallout for recruiting yet, because the top dogs and the top teams still getting the top players. So, but when you take that, and then yesterday being National Signing Day, Alabama signing one guy, kind of doesn't impact the players. But as a fan, do you feel like it's lost a bit of its luster? Then there's the transfer portal, okay, and how it is impacting the game. And then, of course, you add to that um, would what you do with this name, image, and likeness. So I guess I back up to the recruiting. Um, what's your thoughts on the new signing day and all of that? I'll let you go first, Xavier. And is it from a fan standpoint or from a college sports standpoint, do you think it's impacting the game?
I don't know if it's impacting the game. It's just kind of changing what National Signing Day used to be. And maybe, like I said yesterday, if they would do a thing where, hey, if you're an early enrollee, you sign on early signing day, and if you're gonna finish out your senior year, you sign on national. But we know probably never do that. But that's just from the fan aspect of it. But as far as recruiting and how it affects college football, I don't think it does at all.
Yeah, in and of it, Joe, what are your thoughts? Or do you have any thoughts on the early signing period and its impact on the game?
Well, I do think the early signing period is a problem in the sense that it creates a crunch on the calendar, and the administrations are making decisions a lot faster on firing coaches to get to get a jump start on the early signing date. I think if you moved it to August, that'd be great. Or if you just eliminated it all together and had February as the signing date again, I think that'd be a good thing as well.
Yeah, and Joe, you point out a great point. There are decisions being made. I mean, let's think about LSU. Does LSU potentially fire Coach O in the middle of a season, or did they want to make sure they had time to get somebody that once the season was over, they'd have time, and the players would have had time to know and whether or not. I mean, I think that does impact it. I also think it impacts. Think about what happens on the front side of the recruiting. These kids now are starting to be recruited when they're in the 8th, 9th grade, and like it, love it or hate it, some of these kids are signed and committed, and they're not even ready. And I'm not trying to be ugly and all of that, but they're having to move the recruiting calendar. But ultimately, that this can be adjusted. But one of the things I think is a combo. Let me ask you this. Does more high school kids get a scholarship? Does Nick Saban sign 27 high school kids if there's no Eli Rick, Jamar Gibbs, and Jermaine Burton this year?
I mean, potentially. But as far as like when it comes to the transfer portal, I think it should be done like free agency to a sense. I think there should be 2 windows. I think you should have a window after the season before signing day. So you allow guys to be able to come in and compete in the spring. And then you have a shorter window after spring ball. So it's like you're not going to go through summer. You're not going to go through all those things.
They do have that second window. Xavier, they do have that second window. I don't think you should be allowed to go through spring and then transfer. Not free. I think you should be able to transfer whenever you want. Okay, but to me, let me get Joe's opinion. And Joe, what are your thoughts in terms of the transfer portal? And do you think it possibly impacted how many kids signed? In terms of would Alabama have signed maybe a few more players if they hadn't got those 3 guys in the portal?
Oh yeah, you probably would make sure you maximize your class for the numbers' sake. But and Martin, I think you're trying to probably frame an argument that is bad for high school kids. But really, you think about those 2 or 3 guys that Alabama is not signing. Are we really missing out on some guys? Those guys are missing out on Alabama, and not us not Alabama missing out on them. And they'll end up going to the Ole Misses, and everything will trickle down. And the Ole Misses, the transfers that Ole Miss got, those guys that they didn't sign will end up going to smaller school. everything will balance out. I think everybody's just kind of having a hard time because it's so new and so really, what are we in the second year of this? Really, everybody kind of freaking out that gosh, it's going to ruin the sport. Just let it kind of balance and settle out. I think everything kind of will settle out as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree that kids will trickle down, but the thing that I know, based on the way Hank South said Nick Saban recruited this year, there'll be no more Josh Jacobs. I mean,
Jacobs would have ended up at an Oklahoma that was his original pick, or Kansas, or someone else.
No, Josh Jacobs. Okay. Josh Jacobs was not the Oklahoma and all that came up after Alabama started recruiting. Josh Jacobs was like going to Wyoming or something like that. Huh?
Player?
But isn't a Danny Lewis, a Jake Pope, a Dane Shore still on that type of level? Because you're talking about guys that,
I'm not talking about the level. I'm not talking about us not recruiting 3 stars. I'm talking about Nick Saban stopped recruiting high school pretty much after signing period, according to Hank. I'm not saying he did. I'm saying according to Hank, he pretty much stopped recruiting high school kids, and their focus was on the transfer portal versus trying to find that diamond in the rough in the high school ranks. Is that true? I don't know. I'm asking us, and we're having that conversation. Yeah, but I agree with.
It's true. Is it a problem?
No. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying it's a problem. I asked the question. Is it? Okay. Is it? I'm not saying that this is a problem. I'm just saying those are the things that I don't think that. My biggest point to this whole conversation, Joe and Xavier, is the NCAA. College football is going to become the Wild Wild West because the governing body has no teeth, and they just throw stuff out, and they don't have any thought process, and they're not managing the process. In my opinion, it becomes a Wild Wild West. Not that it's bad, because how can I feel bad when, man, shoot, Nick Saban, instead of and take this for what it worth, instead of trying to find a Josh Jacobs, Nick Saban went out and found an Eli Rick, a Burton, and a Jamar Gibbs. You see what I'm saying? So for me, as an Alabama fan, hey, listen, I'd rather him spend that time trying to find a proven guy in the transfer portal than a Josh Jacobs. I'm just saying that's a potential side effect to the rule. My other question comes to I wish they had more governing around the transfer portal.
That's what I'm saying. Like there should be a strict 6 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever. So you don't have guys transferring in the middle of the season. You don't have guys transferring at the end of summer workouts and still being able to play that year. That's what I'm saying. You have a strict.
They do have that, Xavier. That there is. The players can't transfer now. Their window for transferring is during that time in the off season. Then they can go through a spring practice, and then Joe, it's somewhere around the first part of May. They can't transfer in the middle of the summer. They can transfer, but they can't do it under the transfer portal free play rule. There is a deadline. I'm saying that if the NFL has a guideline around free agency, because that's what. Let's be real.
So what are you asking for?
I'm saying that the players they can transfer once the season's over. They can talk about it when they can put their name in the portal whenever they want. I'm not talking about that, but they cannot leave the school and go to the school except for during this off season, so that once the season, now that it's over, now that everybody's signed, everybody's done, a kid can't come through spring practice, and then at the end of spring practice, unless he gets cut by the college, he can't come to another school in May after going through spring practice. We benefited from this. We got, but I don't.
Simmons and Henry Toto.
Yeah, I'm not saying we hadn't benefited. I said I don't like it because you have. I still think about Jalen Moody, and everybody says, well, Jalen Moody should be better. Well, he was better than everybody on the roster. But, I mean, what would happen in the NFL if all of a sudden, after OTAs, one NFL team could go and pull a quarterback from a quarterback could just up and leave from another team? They can't do that. They can't go through and see that they don't fit or that somebody else like them or somebody else came in better and then just up and leave after OTA start, after draft.
So you're pretty much saying restricted to
just
from
like
the end of the season to signing day, essentially.
Right. As far as free transfer, you can transfer whenever you want.
Free transfer is a free transfer.
I mean the free rule. That's the part that I'm talking about. So you agree, disagree.
I can get behind that.
What are your thoughts, Joe? I mean,
yeah, I got a mixture with Xavier and you. I like Xavier's windows, kind of comparing it to the soccer transfer window. If you look at international soccer, they can trade and basically trade and exchange players in January and then again in June and July. They have those 3 months and two separate windows. I think that would be my pick if it was up to me.
But see
I'm going through spring practice. I know,
but Joe, no other sport has a spring practice.
Just realize you're not going to play. Realize that things aren't quite the way you thought they were going to be, and you make a better decision for yourself.
Joe, but no one else has a spring practice. Spring practice is unique to college football.
Okay,
you should. It's about the spring practice.
Do you think those other organizations aren't, preparing, or do you think those other teams, at the professional level, those guys are practicing with one another, they're playing with one another? It may not be an official team function, but they're getting together, they're doing work.
There's a huge difference, Joe, between spring practice and working out and OTAs.
Well, I don't have any issue with them leaving if they go through spring practice and figure out that they're not really where they are. Especially, I mean, think about it. You're getting more enrollees from the freshman class. Everything's just going to balance itself out. I think everything's going to be a-okay.
But I didn't say it wasn't going to be okay. I was just pointing out I don't like it because I think part of the issue is that these kids don't have any account. They can just throw their name in the portal, and I'm fine. Like I said, I'm fine with kids transferring whenever they want, whenever you want. But I think it's a problem not because of the time frame, but because of the uniqueness of spring practice in the college game of football. It's the only one that's like that.
What makes it unique? I can go through spring practice at West Side High School and decide that I'm not liking my time here, and I transferred to East Side High School, and it's just I'm not seeing really the issue, because things change all the time after spring practice. Granny gets sick. Financial situations change. You walk into spring practice thinking you're going to be the starter, and you realize that Johnny behind you is a lot better, and you want to take that opportunity.
Having been through I'm speaking of it from a player standpoint, because I know what spring practice is about, and it's just it would. Anyway, I'll move on. To me, it's comparing it to a high school kid moving. A high school kid can't move unless his parents get a have to up and move, and they may do that. And guess what? Most people don't like that either, right? I mean, nobody likes the fact that Thompson gets all of these kids from these other high schools because they're all stacking. Thompson is being stacked. So
why are these kids going to Thompson?
Huh?
Why are they going to Thompson? For a better opportunity, for future, to set themselves up for their next step. That's exactly why the other kids will be transferring too.
All right. As a former player, I think it's crappy that they do it. And that's like I said, that's my opinion, and that's your opinion. And I don't have a problem, like I said, with them transferring. I think it's great. but I just think that this rule is so poor. First of all, they didn't think through it. I don't think. I think they just kind of threw it out there. And I don't think they even know what the rule is. And Joe, there was probably times that I would have transferred if I could have just put my name in the portal.
Maybe it would have worked out better for you.
And maybe it wouldn't have. So
yeah, certainly. There's always that take. If you transferred to Sanford or wherever, UAB or some other school, you may not be on the radio today with everything that you've got today. Like these are things that the students have to balance. That they have to like. These young men, they want to act like men. They think they're young adults. Well, these are adult decisions.
And all right, let's move on from that, and we'll get on the other side of the name, image, and likeness. We agree to disagree. I have no problem with the transfer, but I do believe that there need to be tighter rules. I guess I look at it, Joe, from the NFL game. And I think it works out well for the NFL game and the roster management standpoint and for the players and the team. But, hey, right now it's worked out for, I guess, the Alabamas of the world and all of that. We'll see if it continues to work out that way as we move forward. Coming back on the other side, we'll continue this conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, got a report of a major crash on 2059 eastbound at exit 45. That's the Utah exit. Traffic is being diverted off the interstate onto US 11 at this time. If you see other conditions, give me a call. Now's the time to head to Townsend Nissan for amazing saving, great selection, and service after the sale. Go see them. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Have you heard the buzz about CrowdTap? The place where you can take simple surveys and earn gift cards? Simply by going to crowdtap.com/buzz, you decide how many surveys to answer on your own time and when to redeem your reward points for your favorite gift cards from companies like iTunes, Google Play, Nike, Amazon, and more. Making your opinions work for you has never been easier. The more surveys you take, the more you earn. It's that simple. Go to crowdtap.com/buzz and get started today. That's crowdtap.com/buzz.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our Pep Talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. Glad to have you in with us this morning. Love to get your thoughts and opinions. Here's Nick Saban talking about transfers.
Fairly productive, year at Georgia. They have a lot of good players at his position, and he had some production this year, but probably might have seen a better opportunity because we're a little bit more wide open and throw the ball more with a good quarterback. That may have been his intention, but we feel like we lost both starting receivers and Slade. Two to the draft and Slade. So, to get a more experienced player that has some playing time in this league probably is a good thing for us. And we like his ability, and, hopefully he'll be able to be very productive for us. Gibbs was a very productive running back at Georgia Tech, very fast, very explosive guy, has really good hands. Actually practiced with us before the national championship game, and we were excited about the speed and explosiveness. He's a really good receiver. I think he can do a lot of positive things for us. Eli Ricks was a starting corner at LSU. Hurt his shoulder last year, so he missed, I think, more than half the season. Obviously, both of our corners, Josh Jobe being a senior, Jaden Armour-Davis going out for the draft. Good opportunity for him, and certainly adds some experience and depth at that position for us. So all the guys have played well when they played for their team, and we all thought that they would be positive additions to our team.
All right, that's Coach Nick Saban. Was there a little shade in there? We're more wide open and we have a good quarterback. I'm just saying that's what Nick Saban said. Hey, a little shade at Georgia there, maybe. Hey, this question is for both of you guys because you guys. I said I was going to move on, but a question popped in my head when we went to break about the transfer portal. My question to you guys is, if you're okay with after spring, why a May deadline? Why May? In terms of having, why the second window? Why is that window there at all? I guess is my question. What are your thoughts there, Joe? And then I'll let you reply as well.
I think that's a good question. When you put that in there, like you were going to ask me that, I thought, what? That is good. Like, I think you want to. You're going to catch me from the last conversation, but it does protect the spring. You go into the transfer portal before spring. If you're not in and you're not settled before spring, you're going through spring practice with wherever you're at, and you're going through fourth quarter, this, that, and the other. I do think it is important to kind of go through that process. But once the spring is over, once the semester is done, once the kind of everything's shaken out, and you're looking into, okay, this is kind of the lay of the land, I think then it kind of opens. I would like it to open back up.
Yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts there? Why the second window?
No, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything Joe said, and I think you shouldn't. Kirito transferred really late, which kind of screwed. It did screw over Jalen Moody as far as this past season. But I said that small window, spring practice ends, the semester ends before some workouts start. So that way,
but what's the difference?
Does transfer in, Jalen Moody now has the opportunity to go. They're giving him this job or whatever, and he can make a decision that is best for him.
Right.
And he can leave in that same window and go to another school and compete where he actually has an opportunity to play.
But what's it? And that's my point is, you guys want a second window so that the guy who is impacted by the transfer in has a chance to go somewhere and compete. That's what I'm saying too. But I'm saying that window should be before spring. You guys are saying it should be before summer. You see what I'm saying? We have the same thought process of why. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't. No, yeah. I mean, because technically, based on what you're saying, is what difference does it make? From my viewpoint, it's unfair to make a guy go through spring and then bring another guy in after he's went through and did everything he did. then you bring a guy in at his position at the end after he didn't have a chance to really, because there really isn't a competing in the summer. You're working out.
Yeah.
And then once summer starts, you really have about 10 days maybe where you compete, and you have 1 to 2 scrimmages. And if you bringing in a guy who has the pedigree of those other guys, then they may look as good, but they may not be as good, but they have a pedigree. And that's what I'm saying is I think we're saying the windows for the same reason, is so that the guy who is impacted by the transfer in has a chance to go and compete. I think that window should be before spring. You guys think it should be right after.
Well,
and Toa Xavier came in under the rule. He came under the window you're talking about.
No, I know.
But you keep saying late. He came in under the window you're talking about.
He came in towards the end of summer, though.
No, he came in under the rule.
I thought he came in.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. Didn't Toa have to?
I thought
he went by the what?
So Jameson
both
transferred
fellas
almost immediately after spring. It was like May when he transferred. Henry didn't transfer for a good bit after Jameson.
No, I think they both made the new window deadline, right, Joe? Am I wrong? Because that was one of the big things that was pushing Toa.
Well, I don't think they had even a window.
They had a later window than what they have now, but it was a window, right? Remember, there was a deadline that he had to make a decision, because everybody was like, when is he going to do it? Is he going to Ohio? The SEC pushed their window.
He transferred it May 8th.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It seemed like it was late, but he actually transferred, like I said, in that May window, and it seemed, listen, it worked out for Alabama. I'm not complaining about my team. I'm just saying that but like I said, I think we have the reason for we want the window for the same reason. I just want it before spring. You guys think it's after spring. But we at least think there should be a window, and you should not be able to transfer right up until the season for sure. But I would say you have to go through, since football has a spring season, and the entire purpose of the spring season is to compete for a job.
Yeah.
That's to rebuild. And Curtis Lewis is saying he waited for the ruling, which came a little late, but it was in May, that May window that you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's part of it. And then the third big change, name, image, and likeness. Is the name, image, and likeness, if they don't get a hand on it, is the name, image, and likeness potentially, not that it's going to be violating rules, because there are no rules, does it have the potential to be much more negative than what you got? So
I think it can turn into one of these situations, kind of like Alabama was able to do back in Bear Bryant's day, where they were able to stack their roster to keep guys from other schools, and these guys will never play.
All right. We'll kick that can down the road. Joe, let's just instead of going to break, can we just roll right up into it? And let me get these callers, and then we'll get out a little early. Let's go to Pat. Pat, you're in with the Martin Hughes Show. What's on your mind, sir? Pat, are you there? Give us a buzz back. George from Macon, you're in with the Martin Hughes Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Mark. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah. My feeling is that there's got to be some type of structure in the NIL and also in the portal, because there is a lot of unforeseen consequences. I think one, I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that, is it fair for an Alabama or a Georgia or one of the larger schools to cherry pick out of lesser schools after they've been developed? Like, suppose a kid's been developed, they spent the money on recruiting them, spent the money on developing them, and then they get really good, and then the larger schools cherry pick them, maybe not as a starter, but to fulfill some depth. When you got a Nick Saban, you got the best of all time making decisions, I'm all for him. But is it fair for the other schools like Nick Saban stated about 3 or 4 months? You're recruiting these guys, you're spending a lot of money on them, you're developing them, you're getting them academically where they need to be, physically where they need to be, and then another school has a depth problem and they just cherry pick them.
Yeah.
Helps us, but I don't know how fair it is. Also, we got these people, these kids are being recruited year round if there isn't a deadline. So I like the deadline part of it, which there is. And Martin, I kind of see your point of view of doing it before spring so you can set your roster, just like you were saying. How did Jaden Moody feel when they brought in Toa Toa? He was primed for the job.
Yeah. But
all's not always fair, but I see that.
Think about the smaller school, George. Think about the school. The Alabamas are going to be fine. I don't care when you set the deadline. Alabama's going to be fine if you let people transfer right up until the week before the summer starts. The problem is, who are they pulling from? Right now, Nick Saban pulled from 3 big Division I schools that probably has a full roster and complement of players. But there's going to be some other schools out there that are going to lose guys in May, and they're not going to have anybody transferring into their school. So when they lose their players,
that's the point I'm making.
Right.
Yeah.
When they lose their players, they're not going to have a chance to go back and build their roster if they lose a player in May. If you're a mid-level D1 school, you probably will go into that season with a down roster, where if you had all spring, you could go back to potentially some high school kids you recruited that didn't get signed or whatever. It may not be the best player, but at least you would fill that roster spot and potentially help your team as the season goes. Because you're going to probably lose a starter if you're
I agree. I agree with you, Martin. Another unforeseen thing is that, they say there are 1,300 people in the portal, and there's only I don't know, I've heard several different numbers, 200, 300, 400 jobs or scholarships. So some people that have been recruited, say, go to the portal by either another coach or a relative or a parent, they're going to be left, holding the bag. And remember, when everything was strict, scholarship year to year, and then the school say, we'll honor the 4-year scholarship. I feel certain that it's going to go strict to 1 year.
Hey, it's been 1 year since I was playing. It was 1 year. It was one.
But I think 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was saying, it's 1 year, but we'll honor it for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's sort of a gentleman's rule, whatever that may be.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, George.
It's all good. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to let you go after this. But hey, George, I'm gonna tell you, they ain't been doing that. They hadn't done that for a while. You think about some of these kids that all of a sudden have gotten medical releases and stuff like that. That was somebody that Alabama and others weren't gonna renew their scholarship, and they moved them off of an athletic scholarship onto something else. So
Yeah, but they still kept some type of scholarship, a medical scholarship, where the school was still paid for it.
That's the way Nick Saban did it.
I think
there's a lot of schools that have let kids go.
Yeah.
So,
and you see it as a transfer.
A commitment.
Yeah. But it's not a commitment. It's a
commitment.
Hey, that's why I do like the transfer portal. George, and I'll let you go out there. That's why I like the transfer portal, because it's been 30 plus years since it's been a 4-year commitment from the school.
Right.
It's been a 4-year commitment from the player and an option for the school, and now the kids have that option. And so, with that comes its rewards and its negatives. Thanks, George, man. Great conversation. Appreciate you, sir.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Pat, you're in with the Martin Hughes Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning. You got Pat this time.
All right. What's up, Dave?
Bill, it's two Pats. But anyway, hey, what I call about is I thoroughly agree with you, Martin, that it's got to be before spring, and I want it to be the month of December only, that where the coach doesn't have to be worrying about doing other crap, constantly keeping petting somebody's backside the whole year. That he's got other important things to do, like recruiting next year, you know. Having to recruit his roster. Now, the month of December, and they have to be in school by January 1st in order to be eligible for the next year. You know, so something's got to be done.
Well,
you know,
how do you do that when you're in Alabama or Georgia or these schools that make the playoffs routinely, when you're talking about they're not playing their first bowl game until January 1st.
Right,
and then they got to turn around and play a national championship unless you're okay with leading roster in that time span.
He just brought in another coach to do that. Coach Sal is going to be a special assistant. Coach Saban, that's going to be his main job, to keep portals and stuff.
But he's talking about timing wise, though.
Before the national championship game, you're talking about Jaleel Billingsley not even being there, Drew Sanders not being there, Javon Baker, who played in the playoff game, in both playoff games. You're talking about multiple guys who played in those two games not being on the Alabama team.
If they had to transfer at that time,
they wouldn't. They could have been in the national championship. They may not have left. All right. Hey, y'all have a blessed one. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Pat. Hey, great conversation. Love the debate, man. That's what I love about this show. Everyone has an opinion, and your opinion is your opinion. So always welcome to share it right here on the Martin Houston Show, the Sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team. That's Xavier Houston with X's and O's Sports. Find his podcast on all the great podcasting platforms, as well as follow him, like him, share him on Facebook. I'm Martin Houston. Thanks to Joe Gaither, the caller, listeners, chatters, and viewers for being a part of the show. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide, guys.
Come on now. Let's all celebrate. Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9.
Thanks, Joe. Great show.
Oh, man.
Tide 100.9 traffic.